Exclusive track owner production.
Welcome to There's Always Hope radio broadcast with Helen Blocker Adams, a weekly 15-minute commentary that addresses social issues challenging and impacting the fabric of our lives each day. Straight talk on the issues, transforming people and communities. Helen is on a mission from God to energize people to make a difference in their own lives and the lives of others. So now, join Helen for today's There's Always Hope radio broadcast.
Voices that make a difference. Do you feel that you have a voice in your home, at your job, at your school? What about in politics? What if you're one of those individuals like me who is sick and tired of the bickering going on in Congress, or tired of the divisiveness that seems to be getting us nowhere? Or maybe one of those individuals who don't vote based specifically on one's political party, but on the character and integrity of the person. Perhaps instead an individual who share your values. Well, this week's commentary is very special to me. Have you ever heard of independentvoting.org? independentvoting.org. Well, we're going to chat about this organization and what's going on in the political arena in today's commentary. Independentvoting.org has launched a national campaign calling for congressional hearings on the ways that independents are locked out of the political process. Jackie Salit, president of independentvoting.org, is a colleague and friend of mine up in New York. And you should visit this website and get a chance to hear her and read what she and the organization is all about. She is amazing. She is on a mission, as are thousands of others all over the United States who share her concerns. The mission is, let's talk. Let's talk with our Congress in a civilized and constructive manner. Now, there is another woman, Dr. Lenore Fulani, also a colleague and friend of mine, who is, in my opinion, the queen of independence. She ran as an independent for president of the United States one time in 1988, and her name was on the ballot on all 50 states. Wow. The other time she ran was in 1992, and her name was on the ballot in 40 states plus D.C. Now, Ross Perot was running for president that year, and she's kind of slowed down on her campaign to help him with his race. Wow. Jackie Salit and Dr. Fulani, they are my sheroes. But let's chat about an education process that must take place in order for independents to have this conversation with our congressmen and congresswomen. But I'm going to share a story first, and it's a real story because, you see, I know firsthand what it feels like to be locked out of the political process, or the political process can be so difficult that oftentimes people simply give up. Now, of course, I chose not to give up, but here's my story. I ran for a House seat in 2006 and ran as an independent. I have to admit, I didn't know much about independence at the time, but I did know that my ideology and voting record over the years didn't fit the typical mold of a Democrat or a Republican. So because of that, I decided to run as an independent. Okay, I thought that was a reasonable thing to do. The decision was made even after I read the very, very difficult process it takes for one to get their name on the ballot if you run as an independent. Most people vote and think either Democrat or Republican, okay, and rightly so. However, there are many people who don't fit in that cookie cutter mold and want to have the right to get on the ballot as easily as anyone who has a D or R next to their name. Not so in the state of Georgia. Here is what I had to do. First, I had to file paperwork indicating I wanted to run as an independent, okay? Then they sent me a lot of paperwork, much of it in very fine print. And you know what fine print generally means, right? Okay, so here's the deal. Are you listening? Here is what I had to do. I had to obtain valid signatures. I will explain what they mean by valid in a few minutes. I had to receive valid signatures from 5% of the registered voters who lived in that district of which I was running in. I will explain what they mean by registered voters too. All of this gathering had to be done within a certain time frame, 90 days. These signatures were simply a way for people to say, hey, we believe you have the right to have your name on the ballot. By signing the document did not mean that person was going to vote for me. That discussion couldn't occur during this process. The first step was having enough valid signatures on petition forms and then having them validated by the Secretary of State and local elections office. And only then, if you met that criteria, would you get the okay to pay the qualifying fee to get on the ballot and run for office. Now, I realize I just said a mouthful, and you're probably sitting there in disbelief like, wow. I can't tell you how many people felt that the process wasn't fair. Even people who clearly told me they were not going to vote for me because they knew my opponent and was voting for him. But they didn't think that it was right for anyone to have to go through all of that just because they were not running as a Democrat or a Republican. So let's go back to the term valid. By valid registered voter signature, the state of Georgia, meant that the person had to be a registered voter living in the district you were running in, had to be a registered voter and have voted in the previous election in that district. Unbelievable. So in other words, if someone recently moved to that district and was a registered voter, they would not be a qualified registered voter to qualify as a valid signature on my petition. Or if that person did live in the district during the last election and did not vote, their signature would not be a valid signature either. Unbelievable, I know, and very unfair. So I put a committed team together. Some even came from Atlanta, and we walked neighborhoods in the evenings and weekends all around the district. We ended up obtaining many more than were necessary. I personally validated every one of the signatures myself. Many of them were considered invalid based on what I just shared with you. It was a grueling, very intense process that took place in the middle of the summer. And I think some people signed the petition because they felt sorry for us as we sweated and made our way through the neighborhoods. Now, it was an experience, okay? I am pleased to say that we did it. We got it done. I was the only candidate in 2006 to get on the ballot as an independent in the state of Georgia. I was told that there were about 30 people who initially planned to run as an independent but changed their mind when they saw how ridiculously difficult it was. And as I think back, I am glad I went through the process. Now, you don't have to agree with my politics, but certainly we can all agree that this process of getting on the ballot is simply unfair and unnecessary. And that is what independents all over the U.S. want to talk with our Congress about. Collectively, once and for all. Independents are treated like second-class citizens, and we want Congress to know about it. So, you know, there's an old saying, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. That means that the noise is so loud, so irritating that someone took the time to stop and put oil on the wheel so the noise will stop. Okay? Now, when groups get together in masses for any cause, they sound like the squeaky wheel. They may be irritating to those who are on the receiving end, but the only way to either minimize the noise or stop it is to take care of it. Independents are a peaceful group of people who make noise and have for many years, but it's not the loud, abrasive, and sometimes name-calling type of noise that some other groups have, but the kind that can still get on one's nerves because, frankly, we are not going away. And independents have been toiling and getting things done in cities and states all over the years for many, many years. So I'm going to share some information I received from Jackie Salet from New York. She shared this on a national conference call not too long ago, and I'm going to read it quote for quote what she said. Okay, and she was speaking with someone regarding this particular situation, a major DC power broker. She said this, here's an interesting and revealing question that he asked me. She said, do you think that anyone in Congress will support this, given how partisan everyone is? He seemed skeptical. They're very, very partisan, Jackie, and very self-interested. I nodded. argue with that, I said. I am completely on your page in terms of how narrow and self-interested members of Congress can be. But here's what I have going for me. First, the independent activists in our national network who are lobbying Congress are some of the most persuasive people you'll ever meet. But in addition, don't you think the fact that independents are pressing their desire for change and affecting the outcome of elections might mean that members of Congress will want to find a way to sign on because they want to show independents that they are aware of and concerned about their second-class status? Oh, yes, of course, he said. And then he immediately offered to use his good name to help us break through to those senators and congresspersons who might be resistant to a meeting. In other words, Jackie said, he understood that in initiating this campaign for congressional hearings, that we are not only making a moral point about how the structural bias in our democracy goes against independence and a practical point about the self-interest of politicians, but that we are also organizing a movement, a grassroots base of unrecognized voters who are creating a new direction for our politics and our country. So independentvoting.org established the Bill of Particulars. I'm going to list and share a couple of those, okay? One of them is the fact that it is clear that Americans don't like partisanship, and many people are doing something about it. They're leaving the Democratic and Republican parties and becoming independents. The recent debate over the debt ceiling showcased the dysfunction of our partisan political process. The vast majority of Americans were frustrated, disgusted with what took place in Washington. Here's another bill of particular. Polls show that 38 to 40% of Americans are independents. Okay, yet independents are treated as second-class citizens. There's so much more that I can share, but let me tell you, go to independentvoting.org, independentvoting.org, get on the bandwagon and see what this organization is doing to reach out to congressmen and congresswomen all over the United States as it relates to, independence being second-class citizens. Who wants to be a second-class citizen? Independentvoting.org. I want to let you know that I am available for speaking engagements for a women's program, church, social organization, or youth group. My current speaking topic is It's Gonna Be All Right. Oh, it's a powerful message that the Lord gave me. Visit my website, HelenBlockerAdams.com. That's HelenBlockerAdams.com. Listen, you have a wonderful, blessed day. I'll see you next week on the radio.
You have a dream to make an impact on your community, but you need help to make it happen. The Barner Group is an economic and community development firm specializing in providing strategic alternatives to public-private financing. They serve cities, counties, nonprofits, private businesses, and schools. Visit thebarnergroup.com. No matter where you are, they really can help your dreams come true. For more information, visit thebarnergroup.com.
It takes a special person and company to provide care that allows people in their golden years to live with dignity. Golden Rule Healthcare Agency provides companion care and personal care, even Alzheimer's care, dementia, and Parkinson's care. Visit their website at goldenrulehca.com. Licensed to do business in 8 states, they are ready to serve your needs, committed to providing quality and professional care. Services just like the Golden Rule, recently designated as a provider for home care services for employees of Savannah River Nuclear Solutions. Contact Golden Rule Healthcare Agency today.
This is an exclusive Chocolate production.
You have been listening to There's Always Hope radio broadcast with commentator Helen Blocker Adams. Brought to you by the Southeast Enterprise Institute and Golden Rule Healthcare Agency. If you have comments or would like more information, please visit HelenBlockerAdams.com or visit her Facebook page, There's Always Hope Radio Broadcast. If you would like to support our efforts, you can make a contribution on our website. Thank you, and we will see you on the radio next time on There's Always Hope Radio Broadcast with Helen Blocker Adams.